Next is Wanda Smith and her family, who are descendants of 4 old Shepherdstown families. The Granthams, the Boys, the Robinsons, and the Clarks. Wanda's grandfather, John Edward Grantham, worked at the Emperor Hotel when it was the Shepherdstown dormitory. Next we have the Hahn family. David Hahn served in the Shepherdstown Regiment in the Civil War. Representing the family are descendants Penny Carter Pickles of Martinsburg and her mother. Now we have the Hedges family, represented by descendants Debbie and Mark Snyder of Martinsburg and members of her family. Peter, Joshua, Benjamin, and Samuel Hedges all owned land in the county at the time of the Revolution. The town of Hedgesville was laid out in 1830 on land originally settled by Josiah. Next up is the Hendricks family. This family's local members are descended from Albert Hendricks. He and his wife Elizabeth came to America in 1662. One of Albert's great-grandsons, James Hendricks, moved to Sandy Ridge near Shenandoah Junction around 1760. 2 groups of Hendricks are with us here today. Jay Hendricks and his family, who live on River Road. Eric Hendricks Jenkins and his mother, Teresa Hendricks, who live on Willow. Next is the Hogg family, represented by Randy Trimpa, pastor of Shepherdstown's Presbyterian Church, and some of his parishioners. The Presbyterian Church is the oldest congregation in town, established in 1743, and Moses Hogg was the first full-time resident minister. Served in that capacity from 1787 to 1807. Now we have the Humbrick House family, represented by State Senator Herb Snyder. 2 Humbrick House brothers settled in Shepherdstown in the early 19th century. They were sons of Captain Peter Humbrick House, who had served with distinction in the Revolutionary War. One of the brothers was named Samuel, the other Albert. Both married into established Shepherdstown families. Next, we have the Canode family, represented by Bill Canode. The Canodes of German stock came down from Pennsylvania to Sharpsburg, Maryland before the Civil War. Bill's great-great-grandfather, Urias, was strongly involved with the Episcopal Church and other community activities. When the C&O Canal was in its heyday, the family started a store just across the river in the place called Bridgeport. Eventually, as the canal failed, the family moved their operations to Shepherdstown. Their farm supply store finally closed just last year. Bill is still chairman of the board of Jefferson Security Bank. Now we have the Knott family. The Knott settled here in the early 1820s. Over the years, they've operated a variety of successful businesses. Some quarried stone, shipping it to Washington on the C&O Canal for the construction of government buildings. Others have been farming. Littlewell Farm outside Shepherdstown is still farmed by Knotts. Samuel Tanner Knott served the community as a physician from the 1880s to the 1920s. The Lemons are one of the oldest families in the county. Nicholas Lemon obtained the first land grant from Lord Fairfax in the Carneysville area in 1756. The family is represented here today by Elizabeth Snyder Lowe and members of her family. They are all direct descendants of William Lemon of Shepherdstown, who was born in 1756. William served as a captain in the Revolutionary War. He was married to granddaughter Donna Shepherd, Mercy Thornburg. Their son, Willoughby Newton Lemon, was a prominent local merchant, traded in grain and coal, and served as a lieutenant in the Civil War. He owned the Bellevue estate before it was acquired by the Shepherd family in 1900. Our next family is the Links, represented by Cindy Joe's Nice Warmer and members of her family. They are descendants of John Jacob Link, who arrived in Philadelphia on the ship Navy Hope in 1733. His grandson, John Adam Link Jr., was an ensign at the Cochran Battalion of the Frederick County, Maryland militia in the American Revolution. Now we have the Lowe family, represented by Ken Lowe and his relatives. The Lowes came to the Eastern Panhandle from Loudoun County, Virginia. Ken's grandfather farmed in Jefferson, Burke County. Then moved to Shepherdstown and became the town's only police. Cletus Lowe was a football coach at the local high school and also at Shepherd College. Ken is one of the area's leading businessmen. He has been active in real estate, business development, and property management. Our next marcher is John Lucas of Martinsburg. He is the great-great-grandson of Edward Lucas V, who was born in Shepherdstown in 1780. Edward, for his part, is the great-great-grandson of the first Lucas to settle here, Edward Lucas Jr. Next up is the Marshall family. The earliest Marshall in the Shepherdstown area was William Marshall Sr., who arrived in Virginia in the mid to late 18th century. His son, James Marshall, is credited with building the Marshall family home. They are represented here today by Miss Mabel Jo Guthrie, 10th generation Marshall, along with various members of her family. Our next family is the Martin family, represented by Upton Martin III and other family members. Martin's grandfather, Upton Martin Sr., was a prominent businessman in Shepherdstown in the early 20th century. He built the Mill House that's now on the National Registry of Historic Places and built Opera House that's still in use today on German Street. He was mayor of the town for 6 terms. Now we have the McMurrin family. Joseph McMurrin was the first principal of Shepherd College. A Shepherdstown native, he graduated from Hampton City College in 1852 and became a teacher. The Civil War broke out. He enlisted in the Stonewall Brigade. He was wounded twice, spent 6 months in a Union prison. After the war, he helped found Shepherd College. He is represented here today by members McMurrin Scholar Award, which is the institution's highest academic honor. Here come the Morgans, lots of them. They are all descended from Richard Morgan, one of this area's earliest settlers, who arrived here from Wales in 1732. Just south of present-day Shepherdstown, Morgan built a small stone house that still stands today above a spring. That is where the famous Beeline March to Boston began in 1775. In the 1830s, Richard's grandson Jacob built a mansion nearby called Falling Spring, which also still stands today. Represented by Senator Andre. Eric Larson in this area here. His son, Jay, working in Red Lights building in Marshall, lived out his days here in the very His son, operated his business in Shepherdstown in the early 1870s. He purchased the Thomas Shepherd. John Quigley was a doctor in Shepherdstown in the 19th century. Born in 1802 in Shepherdstown, Pennsylvania. Graduated from the University of Pennsylvania Medical School in 1823. During the aftermath of the Battle of Antietam, he and Mary took 34 wounded Confederate soldiers. Quigley is represented here today by descendant Byron Stoughton of Shepherdstown and members of her family. Next in the parade is Parade250 of Westminster, Maryland. She's the great-granddaughter of John Reason Ray. John was a blacksmith who lived here in the 19th century. He served many years as mayor. He was a member of the County Board of Supervisors in 1870. Next in the parade is the Rickard family. The Rickards were among the many skilled German craftsmen who settled in Shepherdstown in the 18th century. The first Rickard here, Mike, was known as a whitesmith, someone who made locks, hardware, and small implements. The family is best known for its locks. The family is represented today by descendant James Harrison Rickard of Martinsburg and his wife, Nancy. Coming down the street now are members of the Rumsey family, riding in the town's replica of James Rumsey boat. James Rumsey was an inventor and early steamboat pioneer who was famous for successfully exhibiting a working steamboat at Shepherdstown on December 3rd, 1787, 20 years before Robert Fulton constructed his boat. Representing the family are two sets of Rumsey descendants. They include Nicholas and Monica Rumsey from Richmond, Virginia, and David and Debbie Rumsey and Jody Rumsey Keys from Nazareth, Pennsylvania. Now we have the Schley family. The Schleys of Shepherdstown are descended from John Thomas Schley, an immigrant schoolmaster who led a group of Germans to Frederick, Maryland in 1735. For 4 generations, the family lived in the house known as Rockland on Carnesville Pike. The family is represented today by descendant John Schley and some of his relatives. John is a veteran of World War II as well as of the Korean and Vietnam Wars. His late brother, Ben Schley, was a World War II veteran. The Sheets family who settled in Shepherdstown in the 18th century. The first Sheets were Philip and Henry, gunsmiths who came before 1775, and their guns are prized by collectors. In our parade are Gene Sheets and his wife Joan from California, his sister Carol Sheets from Fawn and her husband Les from Ohio, Gene's daughter Doris Sheets Simpson and her family from Texas, and Dawson Sheets and his family from Illinois. Coming down the street now are the Shepherds, led by Gay Shepherd Henderson, who still lives here in Shepherdstown, and her uncle Thomas Shepherd, who lives in Stowe, Massachusetts. With them are Elizabeth Shepherd Scott, who now lives in Virginia Beach, Virginia, her daughter Jenny, who has come from North Carolina, her cousin Will Lashley, who has come all the way from London, England, with his wife Anna, Barham Lashley of Ithaca, New York, and 4 of his children and many other shepherds. All of them, of course, are descended from our town's founder, Thomas Shepherd, who secured a tract of land here in 1734, laid out of town, and incorporated it in 1762. He is the reason we are all here today, and we're glad to see so many members of his family coming from all over to participate in this celebration. Now we have the Shepherd family, represented by Tom White from George Tyler Morse Center for the Study of the Civil War, which is located in the old Schindler House on Durham Street. Conrad Schindler Sr. migrated to America from Germany in 1752. He served in the Revolutionary War. Next is the Shaw family, represented by descendants Ron and Bob Starry of Waynesboro, Pennsylvania. The Shaws first appeared in Shepherdstown in the 1810 census. Joseph Tom Shaw served in Rozier's Brigade of the Army of Virginia during the Civil War. The 19th century piano in our town museum belonged to the Shaw family. Ron's uncle and Bob's brother Silas was mayor of Shepherdstown 2 terms from 1972 to 1980. Next is the Shutt family. Philip Shutt was born in the 1750s in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. He moved here in 1790 with his wife Anna Maria and established a brewery known as Philip Shutt Brewery. This was located in the row of stone buildings now known as Stone Row. Philip became a prominent citizen, was elected twice as a town trustee. He served as treasurer of St. Peter's Lutheran Church for nearly 30 years. Local workers, including the Irish who built the Chesapeake and Ohio Canal in the 1830s, enjoyed Shutt's cream beer and other products of the brewery. Representing the Shutt family is our current mayor, Jim Oxford, who lives in Stone Row and other residents of those buildings. Next is Mary Rose Peterson and members of her family who are descendants of the Skinner and Thompson family. The Skinners came to Shepherdstown area in 1830 and the Thompsons arrived by 1850. Families were joined when Milton Moore Skinner married Ella Mae Thompson in 1884. They were primarily farmers and orchardists. Family members pursued other occupations, running the Ensler Hotel and serving as the last owner-operators of the Thomas Shepherd Mill. A large number of Skinners and Thompsons are buried along this site. Next in the parade are the Snyders, represented by John Snyder of Shepherdstown and his family. John is descended from another John Snyder, a native of Germany who came here before the Civil War, married to Frederick, woman Rachel Lambright. He served in the Stonewall Brigade during the Civil War and was killed at the Battle of the Wilderness. His son Harry grew up to become a printer and in 1884 became the sole proprietor of the Shepherdstown Register newspaper. Next is the Staley family, represented by descendants Jim and Peach Staley of Shepherdstown. The Staleys are descended from John Jacob Staley, born in Pennsylvania in 1720. His wife Hannah was born in Germany. The couple moved to Shepherdstown in 1777. Son Peter participated in the Beeline March. The husband of daughter Sarah was likely the Peter Fisher of Shepherdstown, who served in the siege of Yorktown in 1781. Jacob Staley of the next generation fought in the War of 1812. The Staleys were farmers and millers and established farms in the Scrabble and Rocky Marsh area. Now we have the Swearingen family, represented by descendants Don Amoroso of Shepherdstown and Delegate John Overington. Brothers Thomas and Van Swearingen were among the first settlers in the Shepherdstown area. Both were awarded land grants in the 1730s. Thomas was a prosperous landowner who operated the original ferry across the Potomac here. He successfully opposed George Washington for the local seat in the Virginia House of Burgess in 1757, beating him by a vote of 270 to 40. Now we have Cheryl Brown of Shepherdstown, who was a member of the Verdier family. Her ancestor, James Verdier, came here in 1771. Family tradition says that James, a French Huguenot, and his wife Susanna, a Catholic, escaped persecution by fleeing in disguise to America with gold coins and other valuables sewn into the lining of their cloak. Coming down the street now is the Walpole family, represented by descendant Barbara Knott Nickel and members of her family. First Walper in the area, Casper Walper, settled in Shepherdstown following the Revolutionary War, probably because it reminded him of his native Germany. He became active in the Reformed Church and later built and operated a successful inn and tavern. Casper's numerous descendants have included prominent farmers, teachers, military veterans, lawyers, and church and community leaders. Some held government positions and others have had careers in the business world. These 5 generations have graduated from Shepherd University. Next in the parade are members of Shepherdstown's Washington family, Francine Kittredge and Curtis Grantham. Their grandchildren, Dora M. Washington and niece and nephew of Leon Washington, were born and raised here. Dora was very active in the community, serving on the Shepherdstown Outreach Committee, Interfaith Caregivers, and Shepherdstown Historical. Leon was a respected businessman who owned and operated the 5 and Dime store on Turnbull. Next is the Weiss family, who were potters here in the 18th and 19th century. They are represented today by two of the town's current potters, Debbie Dickinson and Joan Johnson. The first wife, John Sr., founded a pottery in Hagerstown around 1750 and later established another pottery here. Here's the Welshman family, represented by Edith Bach, who lived in the house where the Welshmans lived. Joseph Welshman was born here in 1804 and worked as a farmer in Blackstone. In 1838, he married Margaret Bennett Entler, and they had 3 children. He served the town as councilman and treasurer, and then was mayor in 1857 to 1859. David Lillard, the editor and publisher of the Observer newspaper, representing Nathaniel Willard, who was Shepherdstown's first newspaper publisher from 1790 to 1791. He published the Potomac Guardian and Berkeley Advertiser, the first newspaper in what is now West Virginia. Last but not least is the Wincoop family, represented by Shepherdstown residents David and Susan Kemnitzer. They live in the large brick house in German Street that was built by Cornelius Wincoop in 1792. Cornelius was a tavern keeper and began operating a tavern in an earlier building on the same site in 1781. This tavern was considered a fashionable stopover place for visitors for many years. Wincoop was very interested in James Rumsey's steamboat experiments, and he witnessed and attested to the success of Rumsey's run on the Potomac in December 1787. That ends our parade today. We hope you enjoyed it.